let's kick this conversation off with something that we kind of talked about in a breakout session that we had this week, which was this decision to stay on Solana. So there was a point when you guys were building Jito where Solana was like in a tough spot and you guys had a decision to make. Why did you choose? I asked Donna the same thing. So just for my own curiosity, like why did you choose to stay on Solana and keep building?
Yeah. I think the vision still resonated with us, and there is a lot of noise in crypto, especially in crypto Twitter, and it's easy to believe in things that don't have potential or lose belief in something that does have potential based on what people are saying online.
Yep.
And the thing that attracted me to Solana initially was just super high performance. Let's take it as much, let's use the hardware as efficiently as we can.
Yeah, take it as far as possible.
Yeah. And I feel like there was a lot of it's like, oh, we're just kind of I guess at the time it was mainly Ethereum. There was Polygon and Avalanche. There's a few other L1s, I guess BSC as well. And, they kind of just took what was written and bumped up some parameters and cranked it. For Solana is just kind of this thing from scratch that no one had done. And there's a large design space when you're building stuff from scratch, like Solana. So, yeah, I think we were just we'd already invested a lot of time into Solana and we wanted to stay on Solana. And I think the conversation too just turned to how do we grow the pie? We were throwing around a few ideas. We're typically an infrastructure focused company. That's kind of our bread and butter. And we were throwing around ideas do we make an app? I think Friendtech was getting popular around this time. So it's do we do some social app? Do we do Telegram bot? What is going to bring more people into Solana? And I think we found other ways to do that. But
so I have two questions out of this, and I asked Donna this as well. Maybe a hot take, but do you think Solana is where it is today if Jito had left?
Typically, I'm a pretty humble person, but I think I would like to think that we have a pretty large impact on Solana, from the software that we're working on to the protocol work that's happening, and the Jito governance token launch.
That's right. Yeah, Zano had kind of a funny answer where he was I think Solana would have done fine. He's but wherever Jito would have won.
Yeah.
Which is honestly pretty cool. I mean, I respect people who have that kind of vision and that kind of win at all costs attitude. I think you need people like that in every space. Every change,
every entrepreneur,
you need that killer instinct. Otherwise, you're just not going to win. You're not going to do anything.
Sometimes it's delusional too.
You literally have to be delusional to win. And all the greats are like that. We were talking about, Andrew and I were talking about Jordan earlier and Tiger, and just how delusional they were even at a young age, but that propelled them to be the greatest of all time, right? Yeah. Talking about that, what, I know we've talked about it on this offsite, but what is the vision for Jito? What do you want Jito to be?
Yeah, I want Jito to make Solana so successful and just make it the best decentralized platform. And it should be so successful because of the work that Jito does. So I don't just want to build on Solana. There's a lot of cool protocol work and that stuff's great. But where I want to work is I guess I want to work from all over Solana, from the super low level stuff and all the MEV stuff we do to getting people to build on Solana. And it's just making Solana so successful and making a large contribution to the success of Solana.
And the ecosystem and as a whole. Yeah. I like that. It's coming alongside of Solana and I think you mentioned it earlier, but not being parasitic, but being symbiotic, right?
Yeah.
Like all like rising tide lifts all ships type of thing, which I'm totally on board for.
Yeah, we touch a lot of the base layer stuff, like
Yeah.
validator, liquid staking, now like restaking, and so there's a lot of like ground that Jito covers between the protocol and other stuff going on. And yeah, I think it's just I want to be working on the most important stuff
Yeah.
on Solana and making it be way more advanced and way better.
Yeah. Yes. Do you think, and I mean, we can cut this out if you don't want to talk about this, but do you think Jito eventually builds more like retail facing apps? And if we do, what do you think it would be? Or do you have any idea?
Yeah, I want to build something that's closer to users. I don't know what it is yet, but it's just like a new challenge.
Yeah.
And I like challenges.
Yeah.
Because right now, like, we're kind of behind the scenes. Like, you know, our main customers are like, I guess we're like starting to get more towards users, but our main customers are validators and traders. There's some dApps that use Jito. And so it's kind of like, you know, you can select to use Jito, and that stuff is a little more user facing, but there's certainly other areas to get into.
Yeah. What are you most excited about right now? Like what's being built that you're super pumped on?
Yeah, DoubleZero is a big one.
Okay. So I'm a normie. So explain DoubleZero to me, like as a normie.
Yeah. So let's see. What's the best way to explain this? Yeah, if you want to build a high performance blockchain and have super high transaction throughput, it's like the IBRL, increased bandwidth, reduced latency, then networking is actually the largest bottleneck. People are like, oh, like Solana's so fast because it's like parallel and the SVM's fast and all this stuff. And like, yeah, it is fast. But the main bottleneck right now is the networking between all these servers.
Okay.
And so DoubleZero is a new internet, essentially, for high-performing blockchains, but also high-performing applications too. So like if you're trading on a blockchain, your internet is shared, or your packets are basically sent over the same lines as like, you know, someone browsing Twitter and stuff like that. And if you want to get to 1 million TPS or faster and have super low latency, there's often better routes in left fiber that you can go through to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But typically it's like been privatized or it's not used or, you know, there's not necessarily, it's not available for the public.
Yeah, I remember reading about like trading firms digging lines, like private lines, so they could put in trades faster, right, between like Chicago and New York or whatever. Yep. So is it something like that? Are they replacing, you know, underwater internet cables? Is that what they're basically doing? Just making it better?
Yeah. So like in the underwater internet cables, this is the way I understand it. So I could be screwing it up, but the way Austin explained it to me is that when you build an undersea cable, there's like 1,000 fiber connections in there. You know, Google and Facebook are the big payer for these, and they'll kind of lease out some of the lines to people. And so you might have like a trading firm or OpenAI. They need to like share their training data or whatever it is super fast, and they need dedicated lines. And they're not often at capacity, or maybe they over purchase some because they just want to over allocate space and bandwidth. So essentially it's a way for people that have fiber to monetize what they have in an open and permissionless and decentralized way. They can earn money from it.
Okay.
And then basically imagine if you could like add a priority fee to every internet packet that you send. So you're like, hey, I want to get from like, I'm in New York, I want to get to like Tokyo as fast as possible, and here's the fee I pay. So you can basically like send it to DoubleZero and it'll route it based on where you want to go.
That's
And then,
crazy.
yeah, the other cool thing is that you can kind of do more custom networking.
Mm-hmm.
So on Solana, let's say you are like producing a block and you need to share this data out to validators. You're in Amsterdam right now, and you need to send it to 5 validators in New York. Well, right now what happens is you basically take the same packet and send it 5 times over the or under the Atlantic Ocean, pops out, goes to New York. So you're sending 5 packets to basically go to the same place. With DoubleZero, you can basically like rethink the way that networking works, so that you could send 1 packet through DoubleZero. On the exit point, it knows somehow where those 5 packets need to go. So basically copy that packet 5 times and send it out. So that means that like your server is essentially sending 1 packet to cover 5 hosts. So that's like there's like the whole increased bandwidth, reduced latency, but you're also like reducing the load on these servers. So you can kind of build like, it's like pretty insane.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
Because it's like, there's like Ethereum and Solana and all these things, and they just like, they run on these boxes. And with DoubleZero, you kind of like, these protocols start to get, there's like more parties involved in like certain areas of it that kind of specialize. And so it's very complementary to every protocol, but it's going to impact Solana a lot because that's kind of like the main focus for now.
So they're just, like Mert said, they're just building a faster internet.
Yeah, it's like the, what's the guy's name in Silicon Valley?
Pied Piper. Or
was it like Jintao or something? It's like new internet. The new.
Oh yeah. What is his name? We were just talking about that. Now I'm spacing on the name. Jin Yang.
Oh yeah.
Jin Yang. Yeah, new internet, new Solana, new everything.
Yeah.
That's actually crazy. So this will have like a massive impact on Solana and the speed of Solana. And Solana's already fast.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be faster. And also, like, this isn't just, if I'm hearing you right, this isn't just like a Web3 thing. Like this, it could literally like change the internet. So like traditional finance would be using this as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know that much about GPU training, but from my understanding, maybe there's not enough GPUs in one data center, so you need to communicate with a data center close to yours to share data with or whatever it is. And you're kind of like, maybe you have private lines that you can do, but if you want to train, if you're not a big boy like OpenAI or Google and you want to train something, then you're kind of limited by what you can get off the shelf. And so if those guys can access this, then that's like way outside of crypto, where crypto is providing value. There's also like crazier stuff where like, why not? Like, you could use a satellite network.
Yeah.
Like, why can't packets be routed? I think I saw something the other day where Elon, like, the reason why Starlink is so good is because it's close to Earth. And a lot of the traditional satellite internet providers, their satellites are super far away. And, it's you're limited by the speed of light. And so by getting stuff so close to Earth, their latency is really good. Like, if you send a packet there and back and time it, it's super short. And they want to get it even closer. So like, why can't DoubleZero route packets over satellites? Like,
that'd be wild.
So it is like a new internet.
Yeah. That's actually pretty cool. What else? Is there anything else that's coming out that you're pretty excited about? I mean, it's kind of hard to top that after talking about like a new internet, but is there anything else that's pretty cool?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool core work going on in Solana. This is like pretty in the weeds, but there's a lot of cool stuff. Like I saw one today, they want to increase the block size limit, I think 5% or something.
So what would that mean practically for like the average user?
Yeah. Like more transactions going through faster, cheaper fees. There's some cool stuff that the whole like Anza team is cracked, and they've been spending a lot of time optimizing stuff. I think they kind of like want to prove there's a how do I say this? Like, people think that the current validator client can't scale. And I think the engineers at Hamza are like, screw you guys. Like, we're going to prove that there's like a lot of like bottlenecks. Obviously, they moved super fast and built this thing.
Yep.
And now they're going back and they're like, oh, like finding like crazy optimization. So like Alessandro, Bezad, Andrew, Steve, Brooks, like all these core engineers that like, they're not really on Twitter. Like, you know, people on Twitter are so affected by like Price and Kyle Samani and like all these like, and Murd and all these Solana thought leaders. And there's like a ton of super cracked engineers working on the stuff behind the scenes, making it way faster. So like, yeah, well, there was one thing I saw today where I think Alessandro made like a pretty large bottleneck in the validator twice as fast. And he's like sending me PRs like, hey, try this out, see if it works faster on your code, on your servers.
That's actually crazy.
It's kind of funny. Like,
so like with all these like efficiency upgrades coming to Solana, how does Jito fit into this?
Yeah. I think we can play a pretty big role here. We built out a lot of the technology and kind of understand how the network works at a very fundamental level. And we can probably move slightly faster than the core team because we don't touch consensus, and it's kind of like a sidecar where it's not like we can build it in such a way that like if our stuff fails, then it will fall back to the normal validator client. Yeah, I don't know if that's the best answer, but
no,
I think that yeah, we can just, I think that we play a large role there, and like we have a lot of infra that we run that can support this, make it faster.
Yep.
I think like traditionally Jito has been kind of like all focused on MEV, and there's definitely an angle of like making the network more efficient, but there's like this like IBRL drum beating, and we're definitely like thinking on like how do we play a role there and essentially make Solana, going back to what I said earlier, like make Solana better than it could be without Jito.
That's right. Because we've been at this offsite with everyone, I've been hanging out with all the guys and stuff and girls. It's actually been incredible. Like, it's probably like the most cohesive team I think I've ever been a part of, both from like the like, you know, creative Web2 world, and then like obviously like my Web3 career. Yeah. When you and Zano first started and you were like starting to hire people and like thinking about the culture of this team, is this something that you thought deeply about? And as you hired people, like what were you really looking for? Were you just looking for just like, you know, like cracked engineers, or was it, you know, also like, hey, can this person be part of this team and really help us scale into the future?
Yeah, I think all of those. When you first start out, you want people that are like bought into what you're doing, super curious, and that's super important when you're small, because it's not like a job in the beginning. It's like a lifestyle, and it's like your baby. Yeah. So you want people that are dedicated, bought in. You want people that are curious. You want people that are like able to move across, you know, multiple domains very quick. Not just in engineering, but operations and marketing and like people operations and all these things. The hardest thing I think is the 0 to 1. There's a lot of 0 to 1 stuff that needs to happen at startups. Like, hey, we, from like the very early days, like, okay, like we need to set up a bank account and a corporation, and we need to like raise money. And then you have money and you're like, okay, we have this idea. How do we get it built as fast as possible? And then there's a lot of like trade-offs and decisions and basically shortcuts that you have to take along the way that people from larger companies typically struggle with. So being able to test, like just throwing stuff at people and seeing how they react to it during the interview process is pretty important. Like, we'll just kind of like, I think our interview process is like pretty good. It's pretty chill, but we try to throw problems at people that they, it's like adjacent to what we do. It's not like, I'm thinking about this with my engineering cap, and it's like, a common interview thing for engineers is like a whiteboarding thing, or like testing your knowledge on algorithms, and just like stupid stuff that you can like Google. But yeah, we were like, hey, like one of our interviews is like a game that there's like a game running on Solana, and you had to interface with it, and we asked about MEV and how you can like trick people and stuff like that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this in the interview process, because I'm curious. Would you rather hire someone, or are you more apt to hire someone who is just like a very good, like really good engineer, or someone who's just pretty good engineer at this point in time, but a killer? And like you tell, it's like that, almost like that Jordan mentality. You can tell someone that you could probably teach. Which one would you rather hire?
I would say killer. I think the hardest thing in startups is figuring out what to work on.
Yeah.
There's like an infinite amount of things to work on, and like engineers will like just like find a random problem and work on it and not think about it.
Yep.
And I think like if you have the right leadership that's deeply technical, then you can kind of teach them that type of stuff. But I think there's a lot of intuition that you want engineers and people at startups to have.
Yes.
On like, there's like this problem, and like which one is the most important thing to work on right now.
Yeah. From my own point of view, like my own career, being on both sides of it, like, both an employee and an employer, the thing that I've learned is like a founder, what they really want is they obviously want a smart and competent person, but someone that like figures out a problem on their own and then goes and fixes it without you having to tell them what to do.
100%.
Like you don't want someone that you have to micromanage all the time. Yeah. You want someone that's like, just like they see something and they're like, oh, I can just do that. And then they take it and they run with it. And then you look over and they're like fixing things by themselves.
Yeah. Yes. Especially, I think that can go two ways. One, the way that it doesn't go so well, if they like they're just finding stuff and fixing it. The way that it goes really well is if they're finding the most important thing.
Most important. And
that's like the key thing. And that's like really hard.
Yeah.
And something I've been thinking a lot about is like, how do you, like as a leader or founder, how do you get people to have that intuition and like train that intuition?
Yes.
Because that's something that's really hard to train. Yeah. And like, if you can train people to have that and like kind of multiply your intuition across a bunch of people, then like it will just make your life way easier.
Yep. I think part of that is giving people the confidence to like follow their intuition and like take on those problems by themselves, at least for me. But I think that Jito has done, like everyone at Jito has done a great job at that. Like, hey, you're good at this one thing, like go do that thing. Like I'm going to point you in this direction, It's like you're talking about the barrels and the ammo. It's like the barrel just points the ammo in the direction, and then it's like, okay, you're on your own ammo. Like I'm going to send you out to do that. Do you have anything else you really want to talk about before we go?
Off the top.
I know, like, I like talking about the fat app thesis eventually.
Well, I think that is like something interesting to dive into because...
do you want to chat about it right now?
Yeah, like something, like I was giving the presentation, the first presentation, the welcome one. And I think a good goal for like the Jito network is that basically it's like a bunch of protocols that work together and the sum of the parts are greater than like each individual piece. And it's kind of a meme now where it's like Jito is like Lido, Flashbot's and Dragon there. But I do think that there is like value there in a lot of protocols. We don't really. It is interesting. I don't know why this is playing out on Solana. Like there are a lot of fat apps on Solana. Like Jupiter has perps and swap and DCA and like the Launchpad and all this stuff, and Camino's borrow lend and liquidity management, and they just released this like intent protocol in Jito's, the MEV and staking and restaking. And on Ethereum, like everyone kind of like stays in their lane.
Yeah.
And
why is that? Why did that never happen on Ethereum? But it like seems to organically be happening in Solana.
Yeah, I think there's more. I think the entrepreneurs on Solana are super driven and super competitive internally. Like are like very driven people. So I think they just want to keep expanding, and there's like a lot of stuff to build to make Solana the best place for even non-crypto people to trade and get more attention and more activity on. And
do you think in the long run this is a good thing, that a lot of the value accrues to just a few apps?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think the best thing to happen is that capitalism can just flow and happen on Solana. And like, may the best protocols in companies win. And if there's a company that can expand and like do well in multiple domains and dominate each one, and especially if they complement each other, then like, why would you not do that? There's like, I think there's this like, maybe it's like the credible neutrality thing on Ethereum, where like people kind of just want to stay in their lane and not really step on toes. And on Solana, I think people just love building and like want to get as many people using the protocol as possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, let's wrap it up with overrated, underrated, a game I'm now playing on this podcast. That's the people. Okay, so overrated, underrated. We'll start with something easy. Vegas. Overrated. Yeah, I would agree. Why?
Yes. You can only do so much gambling and drinking, and you can only lose so much money before it gets painful. Yeah, it's fun, and like it's fun for a few days. I haven't actually been outside the strip, so maybe I'm sure it's like super fun out there. And, if you go to like, it's visiting New York is much different than living there.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say like vacations in Vegas are overrated.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. Okay,
it's a good time though.
It is a good time. It's a good time for a short period of time. Yeah, they're like 2 days. 3 at max is like the most you ever want to stay in Vegas for people who have not been.
I'm glad we did the offsite, like off the strip.
Off the strip.
First few days.
Yeah.
More work focused.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I think we probably got a little bit more done. Overrated, underrated, Solana.
Underrated.
Still underrated?
Yes.
Okay. I would agree. I would agree with the underrated, for sure. I'm trying to think of like different groups of people, like if they actually overrate Solana or underrate Solana.
I think people think it's overrated, but there's a lot of like macro things going on. Like from the tech side, you have Firedancer, DoubleZero. I tweeted about the other day, but like basically, I think like 5 of the top 10 protocols and companies revenue-wise are on Solana.
That's right.
And so like the amount of capital that these teams have is just going to get reinvested into the ecosystem, and they will be able to last many, many years.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't think you can say the same for many other new L1s.
Yeah.
Like how many I probably shouldn't name any other L1s here, but like how many other L1s that have like apps and companies that are making as much money as they are on Solana and like are going to be able to last years, like build not just like protocols, but profitable protocols and profitable businesses.
Yep. Bullish. Extremely bullish. We'll do 2 more. Overrated, underrated meme coins.
Oh man.
It's a harder game than you think, huh?
Yeah. It's like I can't say it depends or like.
You can also say, I guess you can also say rated.
What does that mean?
It means like there's an equal amount of people who are overrating it and underrating it, and so it's just like a balance of rated. Like there is like it's probably just like net like.
Yeah. I would say rated. Like on one hand, if you were to compare the amount of wallets on Solana a year ago to today that have above like 1 sol or something, I bet it's like 100x or something insane.
And you think that was because of meme coin trading? Yeah.
But the meme coin game today is kind of fucked.
Yeah.
In that there's a lot of PvP and there's a lot of bots launching these things, and that's mainly just like a discovery problem, and not necessarily bad on meme coins, but the way that they're being played today.
Yep. Agreed. Last one, overrated, underrated, Jito.
Underrated, for sure.
Yep. Cool. Okay, I think we'll end this one here. Got it. That was a good combo.